Hi, my name is Matt. I'm with CaptionPoint. Welcome back to a starter series on DIY captioning for your theater or other live scripted event. In this episode, we're going to be talking about hardware. I'll start off with some good news. It doesn't necessarily cost a lot of money to find the hardware you need to get started captioning your theater or other live scripted event. In fact, you may have everything you need already. Let's talk about the gear that you need to provide open captioning at your theater first. Remember, open captioning is captioning that is displayed to the entire audience, usually at the front of the house. To provide open captioning at your theater or other live scripted event, you need three basic things. Number one, something to broadcast the captions on. That's usually a television or a projector. Number two, you need a laptop or a computer connected to a monitor to both build and run those captions. And then finally, you need a way to connect those two devices. Usually an HDMI cord or possibly an Ethernet cable. Of course, there's lots of other considerations after that. The size of the TV that you need for your space, the type of laptop that you're most comfortable with, the length of the cable that you'll need to connect those two, and what kind of cable you would like to use. There's lots of options, and we won't have time to go through all of them in this episode, but please let me know in the comments below if there's anything specific you'd like to know, and we'll try to get to it. For example, you might want to have two televisions on either side of the stage running the captions, and this can easily be done with an HDMI splitter box. We've used up to 3 TVs showing the captions, which meant that every single person in the audience could see a TV, no matter where they were sitting in the house. You don't need an expensive television to get started. In fact, the fewer bells and whistles, the better. That being said, however, most inexpensive LCD TVs have a lot of light bleed, even in a pitch black house and showing a black screen. This can be a real bummer to see your televisions when the house goes black. Luckily, there are some TV options that can give you a fully black screen. Still, on the expensive side, you can go for an OLED TV, usually put out by LG at the time of making this video. You're gonna spend around $1,500, but an OLED TV gives you a pure black, which means when you go to a blank slide in your captions, you won't see the TVs in a dark house. But there's a newer technology on a lot of 4K TVs called local dimming. Local dimming tries to match the deep blacks of an OLED screen by turning off the backlight when the software senses that there is black on the screen. This is usually meant to provide more contrast when watching TV, but it's fantastic for captions. When you go to a black slide, the TV goes very, very dark, with very little light bleed. Some theaters project captions onto a wall or other surface. This can be a really great solution if you already own a projector, but you don't want your captions to be fighting your lighting design. I'm going to provide links to gear that I've personally worked with in the past in the description below. I like to say that you can caption any live event with a computer that's within 6 or 7 years old and has an HDMI port, or a dongle that will connect to HDMI. This can be a Mac computer, Windows, or Linux. You do want a laptop though, or at least a computer that's connected to an external monitor, because almost all the presentation software that you have available to you has a presenter mode, which allows you to see the slide coming up. And this is really important for captioning. We'll get into software in the next chapter, but it's usually the hardware that makes the decision as to which software you're going to be using to build your captions. Windows, for example, comes with PowerPoint. Macs get Keynote for free. Google Slides can be used on pretty much any laptop, even a Chromebook. And the software that I built, CaptionPoint, can run on any computer that has an internet browser. Definitely for a laptop, use what's available to you. Finally, the connector. You can find an HDMI cable that is 60 feet long on Amazon. We found that this is plenty long for most situations. If you need to reach your television from a longer distance, you can use a system that converts HDMI to Ethernet, which allows you to run cable up to 150 feet or more. Again, I'll link to some of the systems that I've used personally below. The hardware needed to provide closed captions to your patrons is a lot more variable. Remember, closed captions are captions that are broadcast to one person at a time. This means you might need to have a closed wireless network using different routers, you'll have to have a server on your laptop, and you may want to provide the mobile devices to your patrons yourself. It's generally a more complicated process, and one that we suggest you try only after you've gotten open captioning down. That being said, there are plenty of ways to get closed captioning in your theater. More and more presentation software like PowerPoint and Keynote have ways to beam slides to mobile devices. There's a great online presentation software called slides.com that lets you show your slides to any online browser. The topic of closed captioning is so large that it kind of deserves its own video, but I really want to hear what you guys want to know about closed captioning before I make that video. Please leave a comment below and we'll start a conversation about it. Now that we know a little bit more about the hardware we need for captioning, let's talk about software in the next chapter. Please subscribe to this channel, let us know if you like what you see, and send it to your friends. Thanks for joining. We'll see you next time.